Hello and welcome to NerdGuyProductions. Today we're going to be reviewing Bright.
That movie was just not good. My brother suggested it. I was apprehensive at first because by the trailer I was like, it looks like it could be good, looks like it could be total shit, I don't know. But I gave it a chance and it was total shit. That being said, I'm not saying it doesn't have some redeeming qualities, so let's just go ahead and talk about those right off the bat. It had Will Smith in it, which is definitely the biggest saving grace of this movie. He keeps the scenes funny and engaging, especially during scenes that are insanely boring or pointless. You know, he holds your attention with good jokes, good comedy. But sorry, making me laugh again and again and again is not what it takes for it to be a good movie. People are shitting on Star Wars and a lot of the Marvel movies because they rely on lots of lighthearted comedy. I've never had a problem with that. The comedy works in those movies and it works in this movie.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, you got that one.
Unfortunately, the plot is just a mess. There are tons of themes and character arcs that just go absolutely fucking nowhere. There's a couple plot holes that are just really glaring to me. Plot holes in movies are kind of inevitable, especially when it comes to magic, fantasy, sci-fi type stuff. So every once in a while, I'll forgive a plot hole. But if it's such a glaring problem that you can't get past it and focus on the rest of the story, then, you know, you have a serious problem there. Unfortunately, the only good things I had to say about the movie were pretty much Will Smith and the comedy. So now let's jump into the bad. The biggest, most important part of any movie, in my opinion, is the plot. Was it interesting? Did it make sense? Did it flow? No, no, and no. The premise of the movie and the plot is really, really cool. I see why people were excited for the movie because it's an idea that tons of people have thought about. What if all these fantasy creatures were real and did exist in our society for thousands of years? What would modern day look like now? According to David Ayer, it's pretty much the same, including historical events like the Alamo and shit, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but whatever. What up, bitch? Yeah, I'm just doing a review for that movie Bright. I don't know if you watched it. I fucking hated it. It was bad. I'm on the phone with my friend in Vegas right now talking about Bright. It was bad. At the start of the movie, it seemed like it was gonna be all about like a kind of like a cop drama that dealt with racism, but instead of it being about people's skin tones, it was between the races of humans, orcs, and elves and all that shit, which I thought would have been really cool. Like, okay, we have ourselves a little social commentary in our fantasy sci-fi stuff. That's really neat. But then like 30 minutes into the movie, it totally shifts gears into this like, oh, maybe Will Smith's character is gonna rat on his partner and get him to confess that it was all bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Which I also would have been cool with if they had stuck with that plan. But then 10-15 minutes later, they completely shift gears again. And they're like, oh, look at this. We have a magic wand, and there are these things called Brights and Inferni, and actually, this is all gonna be like this big action chase scene kind of movie. It's gonna have nothing to do with all like the racism, political bullshit. And it's not like any of those things are kept as subplots that serve a purpose to the movie. They just keep changing and changing and changing for whatever the story needs them to be. And it was really distracting and confusing and just didn't make any fucking sense. Early in the movie, these two cops give Will Smith this recorder to get the confession of his partner on. That is never introduced ever again. Like, Will Smith does get the confession out of his partner, but it's not even implied that he has the recorder going. He's like about to kill him anyways. And then the plot totally shifts right after that because Will Smith joins up with him and kills all the cops behind him, which was really badass. I will give him that. That slow motion, turn around, shoot all the cops shit. That was really cool.
It's not where we had wanted to be. If half the world's gone mad, the other.
But the actual recorder and those two characters that gave Will Smith the recorder, like, they never come back. That storyline is completely forgotten, and I don't see why it was introduced in the first place if that's what they were gonna do. There's this little side thing at the beginning of the movie with a fairy. I don't see the purpose of it. They set up in that scene that Will Smith is trying to move and sell his house, and he's like, you keep up with your gangster shit, whatever.
And you keep doing all your gangster stuff. I'm just trying to sell my house.
But other than the fact that He mentions quite a few times he wants to retire from being a cop. Him selling his house is, again, never an important point in the movie, yet they made it kind of a point in that scene, and I don't know why. There's also some random thing he says about, like, fairy lives not mattering today, and I don't know if that was just a haha Black Lives Matter joke, or if that was implying that fairies are, like, sentient creatures in that universe who have rights and shit, and he just killed it anyways. Like, I don't know. It was just weirdly distracting to me that he said that. It made me think way too much about it, and I couldn't get past that little detail because they don't fucking answer anything about it. So for the next 15 minutes, I'm just sitting there going, fairy lives matter, fairy lives matter. So do they have like a little society? Do they have homes? Can they talk to people? It didn't seem like it. It was just like crazed and eating bird seeds. Meanwhile, there's other plot shit going on that I'm not paying attention to because I'm thinking about this goddamn fairy lives matter line, and it's just really frustrating. Like, the dialogue was simultaneously really funny and really confusing. I just didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. It's frequently mentioned that Will Smith's partner is an unblooded orc, and that's a big deal. Everyone hates him for it. It seems like it's implied that because he's unblooded and hasn't gone through this blooding ceremony, he has these tiny small teeth, which means everyone knows he's a little punk bitch. But at the end of the movie, he goes through a blooding ceremony, like you see it happen, and all it is some dude cuts his hand and, you know, bleeds for you and shouts your name and shit. But his teeth don't change, and for some reason everyone's cool with him after that. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Why did that guy decide to blood him right then? Like, he had nothing to do with that scene. It would have made more sense if he decided that back when he revealed, like, oh, I saved your son's life. There are so many parts of this plot that don't make any fucking sense. A lot of them just being character decisions where you're like, why the fuck did they do that? There's another thing in the movie where you see one of these Inferni elves who's being killed. I don't know. But she's like turned into a sculpture looking thing on the wall, and it looks really weird. It does look pretty cool, but I mean, it's another thing that is never explained in the movie. You see in a flashback who does it to her, but you don't know how she did that to her. The character who does this even says at one point, like, I'm early in my spell making training and all that shit. Like, I don't know all these spells yet. Yet she just did that weird magic sculpture shit to her without any words at all. So I don't... And I assumed that killed her, but then you later see, oh, she's not dead. She's just kind of chilling there on the wall, and then she gets her throat slit, and then she is dead. So I don't know. There's so much about magic in general that's just not explained or just doesn't make any sense in that movie. Like, why is everyone and their mother so hell-bent on getting this wand? Will Smith makes it pretty clear we can't use the motherfucking thing. We can't touch it, we'll explode. And the elf girl makes it pretty clear that no one else can use it because you need to know spell words and how to actually, like, fucking use magic, which nobody does. And yet, everyone is trying to get this fucking thing. They're killing people for it. To do what? The guy in the wheelchair that's after them for like 20 minutes of the movie for no reason. Let's say he got the wand. Then what? He wraps it up, he like wears a glove, picks it up so he doesn't explode, but then doesn't know any of the spell words to do anything, so he's just like, whoa, it's cold.
Fucking ice cold.
It doesn't make any sense. Had the movie been about a singular group, like the cops or this gang or whatever, they have kidnapped, I don't know, they kidnapped a wizard who fucking knows all these magic spells, and they've also kidnapped his family, so he'll do whatever they want him to. So that's why they're trying to get the wand, because he will be able to teach them how to use it and shit. That would make more sense to me. But instead, it's just everyone. Anyone, as soon as they hear about this fucking thing, they drop everything and try to get it, and it just makes no sense to me. I could go on and on and on about shit that just doesn't make any fucking sense in this movie, but, you know, let's move on here. The pacing of the movie is pretty bad. There's a point in the movie where I was like, okay, we definitely are about to be wrapping it up here. And then I hit pause so I could go use the bathroom and saw that there was still another 40 minutes left of the movie, and I was like, whoa, what? That story just went in circles and then down random side tracks and then backtracked back to the main storyline and then kept going and then went back, and then it was just all over the place. In my opinion, there was no purpose of Will Smith's partner dying and coming back to life and then being blooded. I don't see the purpose in his character at all in the movie, to be 100% honest. I just found absolutely no cohesion to anything in this story. It just felt like a lot of disjointed random events happening on one particular night. I thought the climax was especially disappointing because Will Smith just picks up the wand and has that funny moment where he's like, whoa, what is that? And that was funny, but then the girl like says the spell words for the very first time and Will Smith is just like and somehow that defeats this super powerful villain that the FBI has been after for like 20 years and nobody could destroy her, but you know, because Will Smith picked the wand up one time and shouted some nonsense, he was able to just obliterate her. People want to scream Mary Sue for characters like Rey in Star Wars all the time. They never want to say shit about, you know, when Will Smith picks up a wand and defeats like the supreme dark being of this entire universe the very first time, but okay. And then after the big climax, there's this really long interrogation scene which literally has no purpose. Like, there's nothing in that scene that leads to the next one or explains how they went from being suspects who killed a bunch of cops and a lot of other people and stole this wand to, like, heroes. Like, there's no transition there whatsoever. The cinematography in the movie is adequate. The visual effects are actually pretty good. The music used in the movie was really good. I'll give him that. It's kind of like a case of the Twilight saga. Terrible movies, but great music. At the end of the day, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Definitely would not rewatch it or recommend it to someone, but if there is a second one, which seems heavily implied by all the setup they did in that movie, I might give it a watch just to see if, you know, they could bring together a more solid storyline, because it is a cool premise, a cool idea, fantasy world in modern times, but the execution of all the storylines was just bad. So at the end of the day, yeah, not a very good movie, but it had Will Smith in it, and that is always enjoyable. So if you're willing to watch a movie solely for one actor being funny and stealing every scene, then you can watch it for that reason.
That's a good point.
And that is pretty much everything I want to say.